Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us for our Library Committee meeting on May 1st, 2025. Before we do begin today, I would like to call on Chair Redmond, please.
Thank you, Chair Salonen. I would like to invite everyone to join in a moment of silence in memory of Councillor Williams. We could stand if you're able. Thank you. Councillor Williams will be deeply missed by all of Council, regional staff, and our community. We collectively send our thoughts to her family at this time as we grieve this unimaginable loss and celebration of her life. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. I will now call on Julie Hale, our committee clerk, to conduct the roll call, please.
Thank you, Chair. Regional Chair Redmond.
Present.
Member Grant.
Present.
Member Griffiths.
Present.
Councillor Foxton. Present. Member Martin.
Present.
Member Nowak. Oh, sorry, Councillor Nowak. My apologies. You're present. Sorry, Councillor Nowak. That's mine. Member Palmer. Present. Chair Salonen. Present. And Councillor Shantz.
Present.
Thank you.
I would like to acknowledge the land on which we gather today is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee, Anishinaabe, and Shinaten people. We acknowledge the enduring presence of the Indigenous people with whom we share this land today, their achievements, and their contribution to our community. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? Seeing none, we will begin with our closed session. So I would be looking for a mover and a seconder to go into closed. Moved by Councillor Foxton, seconded by Councillor Shantz. All those in favor? And that carries unanimously. And so we will All right, everyone. I would be looking for a motion to reconvene an open session at 1:04 p.m. May I have a mover? Moved by Councillor Shantz, seconded by Councillor Foxton. All those in favor? That carries unanimously. We do have 3 reports today. They are all for information at this point in time. And for our first one is Library Financials and Staff Support Overview. I will call on Julian Kingston, our Director of Cultural Services.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. So this report kind of lays things out in 2 sections. There's a description of the financials and then an attached summary of the budgets for the last 3 years, and then also an attachment, an appendix that has the continuity of the reserve over that same time period. You'll see that the budget has increased from 2021 to 2025 by $333,000, and that's an 11% increase over a 4-year period. The bulk of that is cost of living increases in salaries. And if you look at the kind of year-over-year performance of the budget of the library with its actuals versus budget, you can see that in each of the years there's a slight surplus. And that's typically based on the fact that there's some gapping and pauses in hiring, particularly in the part-time staff position. So there's that surplus has gone back. If you look in the reserve, you'll see that surplus has gone back into the reserve for each of the years. This would be, I can kind of pause there. This would be a good time for questions on the financials.
Very good. Are there questions, committee? Okay, seeing none at this point in time, so Julian, you may continue.
Great. Well, the remainder of the report talks about what the support that the library gets from other divisions within the region, and we've tried to quantify that a bit. And you'll see in the background in section 5 there's a chart that lays out sort of contributions. These are based on last year, on 2024. And what we did was we sort of surveyed the other divisions, other departments, things like IT, HR. Facilities are actually, for the most part, already included within the library's operating budget, so you won't see much there. But other supports from PDLS and across the other divisions. What we did was we looked at the kind of support, for example, that we might get from the corporate, from the community engagement team on doing surveying communications work, how many hours went into that, and then what were the kind of salaries behind those hours. So most of what you're seeing here in these totals are sort of like person hours times salaries to give you a number. And that comes out to, for last year, about $420,000.
Member Griffiths.
Can I ask you, is the $420,000 captured under the interdepartmental expenses within the actual detailed financial report, or is this over and above that?
It would be over and above that.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions, committee members? I see Commissioner Regier wanted to chime in, and then we will go to Councillor Sean.
It's a great question, though. I think it may be useful just to summarize what is included in the interdepartmental transfers, because it's a big category, and it includes a number of items which are, quite a list of items. But I don't know, Julian, or perhaps Nicole can give a little bit of just a very quick overview of what those interdepartmental transfers would include.
Sure, I can take that one through you, Chair. Included in the appendix and the interdepartmental transfers are more things like recoveries and interfund transfers between contributions to reserves, those sorts of things. All of the items mentioned in the 420,000 are 100% not included in those interdepartmental recoveries. They're 100% separate. We've ensured that we're trying to provide you the most accurate information possible for the full view of what the region is putting into the library.
Very good. Councillor Shantz.
Yeah, thanks. And thanks for providing the information. This is, I think, exactly what we were looking for. The extra costs that are here then, just so I understand, it was sort of a rough guess in each of the departments of what people might have spent in terms of time on library work. Is that correct? I just,
Through the chair, yes, I would call it an estimate, because we did a pretty detailed job of looking at how many kind of person hours were given in support to the libraries, and then the actual salaries for those positions as well. So it was kind of as accurate as we could get, but I would still call it an estimate.
okay. At some point, not right now, but at some point I may be curious a little more about what exactly was happening with those, but that's only depending how far down the road we go. Thanks.
Any additional questions on this report, committee? Yes, Member Grant.
I'm just wondering if someone can speak to the reconciliation, equity, diversity, and inclusion spending. It's listed at 900. And in a previous session, we talked about, I think it was in the 60,000 that wasn't spent.
So through the chair, we actually have a report on that we're going to be talking about as well. So perhaps we could defer that question for the ready report.
Very good. Any other questions on this one? Seeing none, again, this is just to receive for information. On to 6.2, and that is the library report card, and I will call on Christina McLaren, our Manager of Library Services, to introduce this.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. So the library is required by the Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Gaming to report statistics annually, and this is a condition for receiving provincial funding through the government. We also started using the Ontario Library Services Valuing Ontario Libraries Toolkit. It's a tool for calculating the value impact or social return on investment for our library system. Just to give you a little bit of a background, VOLT is the acronym for that. It's a step-by-step guide for taking statistical information that we regularly collect and organizing it into a library value report, which includes a number of calculations, including the social return on investment value calculations, some community profile information, and some customizable information. So the purpose of the tool, the VOLT tool, is that it can be used to share the public library's impact on the community it serves. And with this data, we have put together a year in review report card that highlights usage and attributes a dollar value for the services we provide to our communities. Moving forward, our goal is to be able to provide this year in review report card on an annual basis. And just to review some of the highlights of the report card, 2024 saw the library's largest active cardholder membership rate at just over 17,500. That is an increase over the previous year by 8.6%.
Sorry, there was just a counselor asking for it to be up on the screens, but please do continue.
Okay. Our new membership rates in 2024 are healthy. They're at just over 2,500. And our branch visits are trending upward at 119,315, which is also up over the previous year. The rate of use on our e-newsletter looks promising. It's not yet a passing grade, but we are moving in that direction. Feedback, I'll just note that feedback from the library service review in November, December indicated a gap between e-newsletter subscriptions. We found that 23% of respondents to that survey subscribed to the newsletter, and those who said they wished to receive information through the newsletter was at 48%. And so that's a difference of about 25%, and to reduce that gap, we pushed a communication out to library patrons in February, and shortly after received 600 new e-newsletter subscriptions as a result. So that number may change for next year. I want to highlight the economic benefit of each library open hour. It is $498. So the calculation for that is based on all usage statistics, so anything that we do during service hours, and the number of hours our branches were open for the year. If you move down to program attendance, you'll see that that is trending up as well. We had almost 19,000 people attendance at our programs. Economic benefit of the library's programs is $218,494. Again, just to give you a background on the calculation there, it's based on the number of attendees at our programs and the comparative market value of paid programs. That comparative market value of paid programs is a pre-established value that's built into the Volt document, the toolkit. Scrolling down to the items borrowed, the circulation of the print collection has been recovering since the decrease that we saw in 2020 due to the pandemic. We had 261,000 checkouts. Print collections continue to be more popular than digital collections, but digital collections are doing well as well. And the economic benefit of our library collections is $6.5 million. Again, the calculation for that number is based on the number of checkouts by our patrons and the cost of items being borrowed. I will say a lot of effort goes into offering, a tremendous amount of effort goes into offering each of these services, programs, and resources at the library. So we really want to highlight the value that the library brings to each of the communities that we serve. Especially in times of economic hardship, the library is an important resource for people to enhance their quality of life. This report card will be shared with the broader public. We are looking to add it to our website and share it on social media and within our branches, of course. And as opportunities arise, we will look to share it with other community stakeholders and partner groups as well. If there are any questions.
Thank you. We have Member Griffiths with a question.
Yeah, no, it's an impressive report. The question I have is I've never dealt with Volt before, and I'm just curious that while the numbers are interesting, what can you interpret from that? I mean, possibly comparative to other libraries, or what? Like, what does $498 in the one case and the other ones in there? Is that good, bad, or indifferent in terms of information? I like the numbers, but I'm not sure how to equate them to anything.
Through you, Chair. I think it's an important building piece. This is something that we can start now, and then for the next year and years after, it's something that we compare ourselves to. They're good numbers and they're interesting numbers to see what the value of our library services are throughout the community. So it's a matter of starting it now to be able to compare to next year where we're at, and then judge our progress over the year.
So if I may, does that mean that we're using this just to compare year to year for our own library? We're not doing it to compare with others. I assume other libraries have the Volt system in use.
Through the chair, yes. Other libraries are using it as well, but that information is not necessarily public from other libraries.
Sure, Commissioner Regier.
Yeah, so perhaps maybe Julian and Christina, you could just clarify that we do actually compare ourselves very intensively to other libraries. Peer libraries across the province are key, like our benchmarking against those libraries is really critical for us. So I don't know if you can just give a little bit of an overview how you do that.
I can take that. So we do compare ourselves to other libraries through the ministry statistics. So if you go onto the ministry's website, the region of Waterloo Library is included in there, and we are compared to other county library systems that are operating with same population served as we are, or similar population served as we are. Yeah, and there are a number of other libraries, at least 9 or 10 other ones.
And to the chair, we'll add that we actually do very well on those comparisons, especially when we look at sort of cost of operating, where we're arguably the most efficient library in our category.
Thank you for that. I am just going to get us to slightly change gears because I know that Member Grant has another event to go to, but that she did have her EDI question, and we aren't going to get to that report before she leaves. So if I could ask Julian to answer her question that she did have about EDI spending now, just so that she does have that before leaving the meeting. And then we'll go back to our speakers.
Certainly, through the chair, I might defer to library staff on this, but I think your question is more about why the funds weren't spent in that time frame and what the plan for spending them is.
That's correct.
Yeah, so we had some gaps in library staffing, particularly in the management position. So the decision to spend those funds across the various categories that we're looking at basically was delayed. So we're looking at spending them now, and that's what the report that we that's in today's agenda specifies in terms of how much of those funds are being spent on what.
Any follow-up questions to that, Member Grant, before you have to leave?
No, I guess a statement. I just want to highlight that that's like very important to have those resources in our library. I think children and teens expect them, given what is found in libraries in the public school system. So I think there needs to be like a plan in place so that that happens sooner rather than later.
Thank you very much, Member Grant. We're now going to, thank you everyone for indulging me. We're going to flip back to the library report card and continue on with our speakers list. We have Member Palmer next. And if anybody had any other EDI questions, we can cover that once we get to the report. I just wanted Member Grant to hear that.
Thank you. It looks like that economic benefit is an interesting point for many of us, because my question's on that too. Actually, two questions. One of them is I'm wondering what all is included. For example, I have this happen all the time. I pick up a book from the library and I get this little checkout receipt and it says that I've just saved $32 because I borrowed the book instead of buying it. I probably wasn't going to buy the book for $32, but I might have. It depends on how good it is. But is that part of the economic benefit? I checked out a book and we've benefited by $32. And my second question, and I understand it's a metric, it's a figure. I've got a little background in statistics. I know you need to gather data for comparative purposes. I also wonder if there's a breakdown that gives that same benefit by location. So those two questions bundled together about that same piece of information. Thank you.
Okay, so your first question about the economic benefit of everything, it's a fairly detailed spreadsheet, the VOLT, the toolkit. There's a number of calculations in there. Basically, all of the library's statistics are entered into there, and the spreadsheet does the calculations. So yes, everything, our checkouts, our programs, our attendance, our library visits, everything is in there. It's a fairly detailed spreadsheet, and it's used to look at, I think, 7 different areas within the community. So it looks at education, culture, inclusion and well-being, entertainment and leisure, economic development, civic engagement, and space, physical space. So like I said, all of the library statistics are added to that tool, and then based on our statistics, it provides us with those calculations for social return on investment. And then your other question about specific numbers for each individual library branch. Now, we do collect statistics for every single library branch. When patrons check out materials, yes, they have that calculation at the bottom of their checkout receipt, and that's specific to whatever items that you have checked out. That's based on the cost, our cost of those library items. Have we made this report card for each individual library branch within our system? The answer to that is no.
Councillor Foxton, you're next on the list. Okay, and Member Griffith.
Just a quick comment. I appreciated the clarification that there is a look at comparative statistics for other libraries. Is that brought to this committee, or is there material that we see that indicates how well we're doing vis-a-vis other comparable size libraries?
Through the chair, we do an annual report, and I'd be happy to send last year's to you.
I'm sorry, it comes out yearly, or?
We do an annual report on statistics, and I can send you the report on last year's.
Thank you, Julian. Appreciate it.
Councillor Foxton?
I think, Graham, you may be asking how we compare to other libraries outside the region. If that's correct, there is the government one. My CAO pulls it up all the time to show us how our costs compare to other libraries, etc. So it is available. Maybe the CAOs can maybe reach out to ask your CAO if they can show you how to get to that.
Maybe just to that, would staff be able to circulate that along with our last report?
Certainly.
Great, thank you. Any additional questions or comments on this report? Chair Redmond.
Sorry, I was using eScribe, which I realize we don't have. I was going to make the same point that's just been made, and I guess I would just ask staff, rather than recirculating a large report, if this is embedded in it, it might be really helpful just to pull it out. I'm not asking for war and peace, but just pull out the comparison statistics that have been requested. I think it'd be really helpful for the whole committee to have.
Very good. And our chair, are you saying that you don't enjoy reading Tolstoy's, like 2,000 words?
I
2,000
read
pages?
every report with great interest.
Right. All right. With that, I don't see any additional questions or comments on this report, so we will move on to our final report for the day, and that is 6.3, the library REDI funding for 2025, and I will call on Christina again to introduce this, please.
Thank you. Okay, so I reported to Library Committee in February that we were approved to carry over $78,000 of unspent ready funding from 2024 to 2025. As Julian noted earlier, due to vacancies in a couple of key staff positions throughout 2024, this funding was not fully spent. In 2024, we spent about $10,500, primarily on programming initiatives from that funding. However, we have a detailed plan for these funds in 2025, and at this point have spent just over 13% of the funds so far. There is a table in your report that outlines each of those sections where we are spending. We'll be spending $1,500 on teen subscription box snacks and activities from BIPOC businesses. Sensory materials for those with sensory processing disorder, we've committed $10,000 to. We've committed $10,000 to inclusive staff training for creating spaces of belonging in libraries and our workplaces. We've committed $13,000 to cultural programming, author speaker sessions for the public that focus on ready topics. We've committed $1,500 to support for a community advisory group that assists with identifying barriers to library services and potential solutions. Promotion and awareness of days of significance, such as Pink Shirt Day, Accessibility Day, Pride, and National Day of Truth and Reconciliation. We've committed $6,000 to that. Collections that focus on Indigenous content and authors is $1,000. And some other collection items as well. Multilingual collections for newcomer families, we've committed $12,000 to that. Decodable materials for new and or struggling readers, such as those with dyslexia and or English as a second language learners, we've committed $3,000. Talking books and digital literacy devices for new language learners, we're committing $15,000 to that over 3 different formats, and which are all talking books or audio and visual. And we're committing $5,000 to supplies and equipment to promote culture, diversity, and inclusion to help with programs and services. Many of the items and services within this plan are already purchased or are in progress of being sourced. We will be reassessing the budget by summer's end, and we'll reallocate funds if there are concerns with spending any of the budget lines. I just want to say we do appreciate the region's support for this funding as it helps the library to continue to build diverse collections, develop inclusive programming and services, and empower our staff to better understand and support the growing communities that we serve by building a culture of belonging. We will continue to keep our communities up to date as new collections, programs, and services become available as a result of the READY funding.
Thank you very much. Councillor Foxton, did you have your hand up? Or no, you're good? Okay. Are there any other comments or questions on this report? Yes, Member Griffiths.
Just curious, not having knowledge of this particular fund, but is this strictly from the region or is it a provincial, federal monies that came down? Just a clarification.
Yeah, thank you.
Through you, Chair. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
It is regional funding.
Clarity on where is that regional funding coming from? Is it area rated or is it a separate funding account from the tax base?
I believe it's separate funding.
I'm parlaying for Councillor Foxton. I'm sorry, I didn't actually hear what you had asked.
I just want clarification for sure. I don't want to say believe. Let's find out for sure. Where did the 78,000 come from?
It comes from the READY fund. It was a $10 million allocation that the region made back in 2022, I believe. It's a standing fund that is a special allocation, and we've been implementing for the last 3 years through regional and external programming.
Thank you.
Any additional questions or comments on this report, committee? Okay, I'm not seeing any, and again, this is to be received for information. In terms of our committee tracking list, are there any questions or items that committee deemed to be complete and can be removed or would like to see added to the tracking list? Yes, Member Griffiths.
I noted on the first page under the meeting date 26th of November 24, staff bring back a report on financial reserves for library, financial plan for library reserves with a strategy, etc. And that was dated for the May 1st meeting. Have I missed something or is that still outstanding?
Through you, Chair. The two appendices in the first report we reviewed in open committee today have a summary of that information. If there's more details required, a separate request could be made.
Just one follow-on, if I may. Not being familiar with the reserve fund aspect, this may be something taken outside of this meeting that somebody could provide some information on as a community member. I'm not familiar with what the reserves are and what they're for and how they're managed. So it's not something I want to take up time here, but just highlight it if I could. It's perhaps something my fellow community members would like to have. I can only speak for myself.
Through the chair, I can either bring that back to the next committee meeting or I can send a separate email to the community members, or if you'd like to after the meeting, I could just show you here, whatever's helpful.
I'd perhaps suggest just bringing it back to the next committee meeting, both as a refresher for all of us who sit on council, but I think also for the public, there may be interest in understanding that as well.
Sure, I will take that action away.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments on the tracking? Okay, seeing none. Is there any other business that members would like to note? Also seeing none. Our next library committee meeting, I'm just looking at a date that has since passed on my sheet, so June 3rd, I'm being told, is our next date, so we will see you all then. In the meantime, may I have a mover and a seconder to adjourn, please? Moved by Councillor Foxton, seconded by Councillor Nowak. All those in favor, and that carries unanimously.